We are witnessing the world without reserve currencies ultimately rising right now. And I have been talking about it for a while. Welcome to the channel, everyone. My name is Nick. For those that are new to the channel, hopefully by the end of this video, you do become a subscriber. If we take a quick look at this post back in June for myself, I said, let it be known that reserve currencies will cease to exist in the world we are headed towards. Now, if we go over here, I put out a full post back in the summer of 2023. Now, for those that have been a watcher of the channel for a while, then you know about this. You are aware of this. I strongly encourage everyone to join the free Discord. There's going to be a link at the top of the description below. This is one of the most valuable and informative Discords out there, and it's completely free. There's a free side that has a ton of free crypto gems, free market strategies, guides, market trends, free charts, and there's also going to be new cheat sheets dropped in this Discord. And already we have a ton of testimonials from members of the Discord that have been absolutely loving it. So what are you waiting for? Go and click the link at the top of the description below and join the free Discord. But for those that are new to the channel, then you probably don't know about this. And what this is my vision for what's coming. I said, how do I envision what's coming? Every single major nation will have their own currency. CBDCs will be this currency. Every single bank will tokenize their reserves. They might even have their own token, i.e. JPM coin, which, yes, a lot of them are doing this. Citi has one. JPM has one. I believe Bank of America is in the process of having one. A lot of these major banks are going to tokenize their reserves. The world is going to be dominated by digital monies. Anything and everything of value will eventually be tokenized in time. The biggest thing about the global financial system is that we are moving towards a world that is not dominated by a currency controlled by one entity. Decentralization on a global scale is 100% needed. The US dollar has been a great example of why we should not have a reserve currency. The interesting thing about CBDCs is they will eliminate the need for a reserve currency, but would 100% demand a decentralized bridge currency. Now, a lot of you might question, Nick, why does a CBDC eliminate a reserve currency? The only reason why we actually need a reserve currency is because we need something that maintains its value for at least like 3 to 5 days or even more because of how long the cross-border payments take to settle. That's when we look at central bank digital currencies or stablecoins or even digital assets and how fast they settle. It completely eliminates the idea of a reserve currency, which, by the way, this is why we are starting to see such a big, pushback from regulators and from the big players, because guess what? The higher powers that may be, they know this as well. But I said many believe this bridge currency will be XRP or even XLM due to many documents out there. I believe there's a significant change coming where the world will be dominated by DLNs. This is distributed ledger networks. Whether or not it's XRP, XLM, etc., the world is changing. Everyone needs to realize that blockchain and DLT is fundamental to the change coming. The biggest thing to do is diversify into utility giants in the space and be patient enough to realize the vision. Now, over here, we have from the IMF, right? June 18th, central bank digital currencies can boost Middle East financial inclusion, payment efficiency. 19 countries in the Middle East and Central Asia are now exploring issuing a CBDC. This is June 18th of this year. Now, this is for financial inclusion and improve the efficiency of cross-border payments. That's the full focus here. Now, listen, am I pro CBDC? Am I going to be extremely bullish on CBDCs? No, but I do think that the idea of this control and, privacy is getting blown out of proportion. Guys, your bank account can be limited. Your bank account can be compromised. It can be controlled. It can be wiped out. Everyone thinks that their bank accounts are safe. They think that utilizing cash is safe. Everything nowadays is monitored. It's tracked. It's traced. We live in an age where technology can track and trace anything and everything. So as we look at CBDCs, central banks don't care if you're going out and buying a sandwich. They don't care about what you're buying. Now, although they won't care about what you're buying, is this going to allow for more transparency? 100%. But I want you guys to understand that there's also private companies out there, like Ripple, for an example, that are creating privacy-centric platforms that eliminate those types of invasive moves. Now, yes, can they bypass it? Sure, but they're not going to care about what typical people are doing. One thing that I will say though is that we will most likely be seeing only stablecoins, and that will be issued out through private entities. Central bank digital currencies are more so for central banks, but CBDCs, you got to remember that these are also stablecoins. They're just issued out by the central bank. Over here, we also have IMF says central bank digital currencies can replace cash. This is not the time to turn back. And yes, this is happening right now because listen, everything else around us is it's evolving. Cash has not evolved. It's been how many decades with cash being the main thing of currency, right? Things are going to evolve. It needs to keep pace with technology. So now we are going to witness cash evolve into its digital form. Also over here, IMF chief urges more proactive push for central bank digital currencies, followed by IMF recommends stablecoins and CBDCs to boost Pacific Islands economies. Guys, a lot of this was in 2024. This was November of 2023, November of 2023. This was 2024. This was 2024. Like they are pushing this heavy. Now, also, when it comes to the IMF, focus on who they are working with. Very interesting document from the IMF regarding reserve currencies in an evolving international monetary system. Some key findings are the fact that variations in regulatory frameworks will lead to fragmentation in currency use. The number one thing I have said is the SEC is weightless, and I just included this in a recent video, but I'm bringing it back up because what this is telling us is that not only are they preparing for an evolving international monetary system, which is just another fancy way of saying, hey, guess what? We are about to witness a new monetary system rising, and reserve currencies could still be in question. And here we have payment systems being talked about. Most existing cross-border transfer and payment systems face challenges. Alternative systems using technologies such as DLT, distributed ledgers, can overcome existing constraints and inefficiencies. And even up here, we have digital currency competition may differ from traditional currency competition by differentiating along associated networks and users rather than being based on macroeconomic performance. AKA, when we really kind of look at reserve currencies, the number one driver of, the way that reserve currencies work today is they're all determined by what the US is doing. That's why a lot of these areas around the world are like, dude, we don't want to be tied to the US dollar anymore. We don't want to utilize SWIFT because it's being utilized as a financial weapon. So that's why they're pushing back against it so heavily. And we also have over here, and some existing ones may offer the opportunity to settle in multiple currencies, reducing the need for vehicle and invoicing currencies going forward and moving the international monetary system towards decentralization. Other new systems may be centered around one established international currency and boost its position among regional or global reserve currencies. This is why we focus on XRP and XLM as well, because they have been heavily mentioned in a lot of these documents as well. Over here, back in 2021, the IMF told us a world with more than one reserve currency is a more stable world. Now, remember who is writing this. This is Tommaso Mancini Grifoli, one of the main individuals at the IMF that has also met with Ripple. This is also with like Adrian Tresani. I believe that's his last name. I might be wrong on that, but these are individuals that have been in the same room as, Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse, central banks, all planning and talking about things around reserve currencies and this new world of currencies that are rising around digital-based currencies. Now, also over here, we have the first time ever that I have heard anyone claiming at the Frankfurt Stock Exchange in Germany that XRP could be a world reserve bridge currency as soon as central banks will implement CBDCs. Big shout to XRP drops for this. This goes back to February of this year. Listen closely to this. Read the captions because it is in German.
Zentrale Frage wird sein, ich bin ja ein Freund von First Mover. Der First Mover grast für sich einfach am meisten ab. Der vereinnahmt von Anfang an für sich am meisten. Und es wird die Frage sein, wie groß ist der Druck auf die Zentralbanken, CBDCs zu implementieren, der zeitliche Druck, so schnell wie möglich etwas zu tun gegen diesen drohenden Kollaps. Und da wird man natürlich auf das zurückgreifen, was da ist. Ripple ist da mit seinem Angebot und wenn die Zeit für Ripple spielt, dann kann Ripple durchaus die World Reserve Bridge Currency werden.
So there you guys have it. Again, this is something that I have talked about on, multiple videos of how Ripple basically is positioning XRP in a sense of being a world reserve bridge currency between these CBDCs. And what's crazier about all of this, right, is what the IMF told us, right? A world with more than one reserve currency. Check this video out. You guys probably remember this. This is August of 2023. This is David Schwartz. Listen closely to this. Big shout to 801_XRP for this.
Do you believe that there can be two existing world reserve currencies to simultaneously exist?
I do, and I think that could happen. I think it's quite realistic that a lot of the world is just done with the dollar as the reserve currency. I think that there's a lot of places that are willing to try something else. And one of my scenarios, and I don't think it's going to play out quickly, but like one of my wild case success scenarios for a digital asset is if countries start to realize that the US dollar is not going to be the reserve currency forever. Other things are going to be the reserve currency. And the same thing that we saw with banks, like people, when we started selling software to banks, people would say to me, why would a bank use something that like you guys were selling them when they could use something that was like made by banks? And what they didn't realize is that, only like 10 banks in the country, on the planet, are Deutsche Bank, HSBC, Credit Suisse, JP Morgan Chase, like the ones who would build a system that the entire planet would run on. For the rest of the banks, that's 6,000 smaller banks, those are their biggest, strongest competitors. Those are the entities they hate the most. They would not want to use the system built and maintained by them because it's going to be biased in favor of them, their biggest and strongest competitors. And I think the same thing could happen to nations. Like every nation would love for their currency to be the world reserve currency. That's helped the U.S., that's grown the U.S. economy, quote unquote, unfairly by leaps and bounds for decades. And every other country would be like, yeah, we'd like to have the world be the world's reserve currency. But the only countries that could possibly pull it off is the U.S. holding its position, maybe the EU, maybe Russia, maybe one or two others. But realistically, most countries know that if there's going to be a new world reserve currency that's a country's currency, it's not going to be them. And so they might actually prefer a currency that nobody can control to one that's controlled by their largest geopolitical rivals. And so that's like what I think is the biggest possible success scenario for digital assets. If these countries are like, okay, well, the US dollar can't hold on forever, but it's not going to be our currency because no one's going to want to repeat the US dollar scenario. Nobody but the EU wants the EU to replace the dollar, right? Nobody but Russia wants the ruble to replace the dollar. Nobody but China wants the yuan to replace the dollar. So maybe they could settle on a currency that nobody could control rather than one controlled by their most powerful geopolitical rival. So if you want a success scenario, that's the one that I think is the most likely.
But the money question is, how do you get everybody to agree?
Well, I mean, they might agree if the alternative is that their geopolitical rivals force some new replacement for the dollar that's not, if they just replace, the old boss with a new boss. If the choice is no boss, if that happens to make a bunch of cryptocurrency people rich, I don't think they're going to see that as too much of a minus.
That's good.
Yeah. It's great.
And there you guys have it. That last quote there, that, if it does make a lot of these cryptocurrency guys rich, I don't think that that's going to be a real big problem. And this is exactly why I focus on, the connections with central bank currencies, right? Like, although, yeah, we're going to, talking about CBDCs and control and privacy, what everyone is failing to realize is by picking some of the winners that it very well seems like they've already picked when it comes to the IMF or the BIS, because we already know Ripple's working with some of these big names. They've been in the private meetings with these big names. Being able to touch XRP under $1 should never be looked at as a negative thing. Because in a couple years from now, when we start to see things really popping up around CBDCs, like for an example over here, like, as soon as central banks, start implementing CBDCs, XRP could become a world reserve bridge currency. Like, these things are speculations right now, but it could be a potential, reality in a very short amount of time, because as we see the IMF urging this on. They are pushing this. We are getting closer and closer to a major collapse of our current financial system, which is going to usher in and wake up this new financial system that, in my opinion, has been getting planned for a while. I think going all the way back to the '08 crash, I think immediately after they started to create this system. I also think that Bitcoin could very well be a government vehicle that was pushed to the masses to distract a lot of people. I think that it's one of the biggest psyops in this space. But maybe I could be wrong, right? But outside of that, over here from Mr. Man XRP, we do have IMF suggest that with the rise of digital currencies, there could be more than one reserve currency. Joel Katz had also stated that there could be more than one currency in terms of a reserve asset at the same time. And here we have, but historical precedents of sudden changes suggest that new developments such as the emergence of digital currencies and new payment ecosystems could accelerate the transition to a new landscape of reserve currencies. Key word here is with the emergence of digital currencies and new payment ecosystems, this could accelerate the transition. We are witnessing the acceleration of this transition. We have the big players talking about tokenization. We have the big elites pushing the tokenization trend, pushing Project Enbridge, Project Rosalind. All of these are handpicked players like Ripple, like Quant. Focus on the big picture here. We are witnessing the change of our entire financial system. And yes, in my opinion, yes, Ripple and XRP are crucial for this. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, turn notifications on because more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. And with that being said, guys, it's been Nick. Thanks for watching. Peace out.